Okay, in this session, we are going to focus, okay, on the point why there is misinterpretation in the scripture. Okay, instead of mentioning God's remembrance is omnipresent, they mention God is omnipresent. Okay, what is the reason behind that? Okay, so to understand that, we have to look at this example. Okay, we have to take the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so as you know, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is most popular, okay, in the first religious scripture. Okay, it is the holy book of Sanatan Dharam, which is ancient deity religion. Okay, Gita, Srimad Bhagavad Gita is universally renowned as the jewel of spiritual wisdom. Okay, it is the greatest religious classic of all time. Okay, and it is the only text that has direct instructions from the Lord himself. No other philosophical or religious work reveals in such a lucid and profound way, okay, the nature of the self, universe, and the supreme. Okay, and even though it was filled with the true meaning was not delivered to everyone. Okay, so the main point here that we need to take it is multiple interpretation, okay, of all the scriptures that happened over the period of time is the biggest problem. Because of that, the truth was diluted. Okay, initially, the slokas were not translated, okay, were not explained, okay, by the original poet. Later, by the followers and the other human beings, it was interpreted, and everybody interpreted it in their own way, okay, in the Rajo and Tamo stage. Okay, in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita, we already look at three gunas. Everybody goes through three gunas. Okay, so everybody, as the impurity in them increased, everybody chose, okay, to dominate their own explanation. Okay, and it has a proof in the Bhagavad Gita as well. Okay, in chapter 2, slok 44 and 53. And we are not talking about interpretation. If you look at just the Sanskrit word, okay, if you really understand the true meaning of it, that's what it is indicating. Even scriptures goes to three stages. That's why God says, I have to come at the end to tell the essence of the scriptures. Okay, so scriptures also goes to degraded stage. So that's why it is very clear. It is not written by, they are not written by God. Okay, and we look at some of the example here. It's a clear proof in front of you. Okay, we are taking the example of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, and there is a clear reason why, because that is the only scripture that is studied by everyone, and there is extensive study went on the scriptures by people from all the religious backgrounds. Okay, so as you can see, the first translation of the Bhagavad Gita, okay, was published in English in 1975. Okay, and later they had many copies, okay, in different languages like French, German, and Russian. Okay, they had by 1982, look at this, count of 1891 translations of the Bhagavad Gita in 75 languages. Okay, 273 in English was cited. Okay, Gita was attracted much scholarly interest in Indian history, and some 227 commentaries have survived in the Sanskrit language alone. Look at it. Okay, and in addition to the classical, there are modern era commentaries. So there are top 4 classical commentaries. You can see that they popularized different philosophies here. Okay, the philosophy of interpretation of them were different. Okay, we'll look at some examples. Okay, look at here. Let's see, the mythology of Sankaracharya is different, and mythology of Ramanujacharya is different. Okay, and as well as Madhvacharya's is different. So if you really see, Madhvacharya's Gita says every soul is separate and the Supreme Soul is different from them. Okay, whereas Sankaracharya's Gita says, okay, Sarvam Khalu Idam Brahma, which means whatever is seen in this world is the form of God. Brahma is God. Okay, there is only one Brahma and no one else. Eko Brahma Dvityo Nasti. Well, this is a big contradiction. Okay, how can that be possible? Okay, same slokas in two interpretations. In one Bhagavad Gita, it says, oh, God and soul are the same. Okay, eventually soul is merged in the Supreme Soul. But in here, in another Gita, it says, okay, soul and the Supreme Soul are different. Now, which one is the true one? Right? So people will get confused. And another thing that brought biggest confusion here and have totally blinded us is the fact that people don't really want to accept that and want to explore that, but this is the truth based on the research. Okay, the Krishna word was not in the original Gita, okay, as the God of the Gita. Krishna word was populated as God, okay, later on. Okay, so here is some examples here. It's not even research done by we have this scholars, from India. It is the foreigners, the Western. We have the Western researchers here, have proved that. Look at this, who don't even know the language. Look at it. Okay, Garb says that it has been known that we do not possess the Bhagavad Gita in its original form, but in a form which is a result of essential modifications. Okay, Hopkins said Krishna dominated form of the Gita, which is available now, was a Vishnu dominated form earlier, and even before that it was known communal creation. Okay, Farooqa said in the literature, religions literature of India, that Gita is an ancient poetic Upanishad, which was probably written after this Upanishad. Okay, and it has been revised into the present form by some poet to support the faith of Krishna. Okay, in the period after the death of Christ. Look at this. So before Christ, Krishna was not dominated as the God of the Gita. So how can that be the complete truth? How can we accept that? Okay, according to Garvey, earlier the Bhagavad Gita was a book related to Sankhya Yuga, okay, in which the tradition of worshipping Krishna Vasudeva was incorporated later on. And by considering Krishna to be a form of Vishnu, okay, the combination of these two was set with the Vedic tradition in the 3rd century BC. Okay, the original creation was written in 200 BC. Okay, in its present form was prepared in the 2nd century AD, see, after the death of Christ, by some followers of Vedanta. Okay, Hortsman considered the Gita to be a poem that was pantheism and was later transformed into the form in which Vishnu was considered prominent. Okay, Keith also believes that originally the Gita was an Upanishad. Okay, but later on it was revised for the convenience of Krishna's worship. Isn't that clear? So we know whatever we are doing is based on our emotions. Okay, based on we are attached to all the stories, and we have been kind of overjoyed with and having the attachment to all this stories that we have heard, and based on that we create attachment. But in the Bhagavad Gita itself, God says, I like knowledgeable soul. Have we looked at from the perspective of knowledge through our divine intellect? No, right? So emotions created by just the limited aspects of the information, okay, which is due to Rajo and Tamo, okay, cannot bring the ultimate transformation, okay, cannot bring us the eternal peace. So we need to really evaluate that instead of just saying, no, I cannot change my belief. Okay, we do need to challenge our belief based on the information, okay, true information that we have available. Okay, so these are some of the proofs here. You can go through it. If you want me to send it, I don't mind. Okay, you yourself can read this as well. Okay, so these are the interpolation of original Gita version view of Western scholars, okay, who have done extensive research on it as well. Okay, so these are some of the proofs. Some more here. I will go through this as well. Okay, so then you can be, you can have that clear information that what based on what I'm saying, that okay, why they have made mistake of saying God is omnipresent. Okay, instead of God's remembrance as omnipresent. Okay, so in here, if you see, in here it says the first mention of Krishna as early as 16th century BC, okay, in Chandogya Upanishad refers to him as a sage and a preacher. Okay, he's mentioned as Devki Putra, son of Devki. Okay, now look at this, 4th century BC. Okay, we have 4th century BC presents Krishna, but also gives details about the tribe to which he originally belonged to. Okay, and then later on, okay, what happened? It's by the 14th century BC, not only is Krishna Vasudev transformed from a hero to a deity, but he has also become fairly popular. Okay, by the 2nd century BC, okay, Vedic worship had become rigid and Vedic sacrifices expensive. Okay, alongside this, Buddhism was gaining ground. Okay, so large-scale entry of foreign invaders who were favorably inclined towards Buddhism and other popular cults weakened the authority of priestly class. Okay, and then what happened? So as it says in the book, Origin and Development of Vaishnavism, okay, Brahmins seized upon the devotional cult of Vasudeva Krishna and recognized it as a form of Narayan Vishnu. Okay, to infuse Brahmanical social ethics into this popular cult and re-establish, okay, their authority. Okay, so Narayan and Vishnu, this is very important, were initially perceived as separate deities and later unified. Okay, now Krishna Vasudeva was fused with Narayan Vishnu, okay, and came to feature in the Mahabharata as a war hero, and in Bhagavad Gita, okay, as a preacher. Okay, yet Mahabharata in several places reveals a hesitancy to accept a non-Aryan tribal deity as a higher god. Okay, this is why Krishna Vasudeva is initially described as incarnation of only a fraction of Narayan Vishnu. Okay, now look at this. Till the 1st century BCE, Krishna was only worshipped in the adult form as a preacher, as a friend of Pandavas, a Yadav, Vrishni hero, and Vishnu incarnate. Okay, what was missing from this grand narrative was a childhood. Okay, so later what they did, Krishna Gopal surfaced when Krishna was fused with another god of a Ahir tribe. Okay, so when they came, that's when all the stories of Krishna Gopal began. Okay, even though it has not established whether the Abhis were native of Indian subcontinent or were immigrants, it is quite clear that in the 1st century BCE, the tribe was living in the lower Indus Valley and eventually migrated to Saurashtra. Okay, they became politically active under the rule of Shaks and Shatvahans. Okay, the Krishna Vasudeva of Vrishnis was identified with a cow-herd deity of the Abhirs, okay, because of the similarities between the two tribes. Okay, so Krishna in the Mahabharata counsels Arjun to acquire Shubhadra, the Krishna's sister, by force, and says that would be in keeping his dharam or religious law. Okay. So now here it is the identification of Krishna Vasudeva with the Abhi deity also introduced the it introduced the Krishna with the milkmaids. Okay, so now what they did, Okay, slowly, the addition of the Krishna Gopala came into the picture. Okay, so Krishna Gopala is a later addition to Krishna Sag because the original story of the Mahabharata makes no mention of Krishna's childhood. Okay, so that's why the Krishna appear identification was given concrete shape. Okay, you can also go through this. This beautifully explains that how Krishna was just a sage and a preacher. Okay, he was shown as a friend, and then how it just a hero to a deity. How he became popular from a hero to a deity. Okay, and then he was made God. Okay, he was not always named as the god of the Gita. So this is something to explore. Okay, it will really enlighten you with some facts. Okay, so again, so stories of birth of Krishna were not found in the earlier versions of the scriptures. Okay, Krishna was added later as an avatar of God. Okay, these are the references from the book. Okay, you can go through these references if you would like. I can send you this. Okay, and of course, see in the Vedas itself, we only had Om Namo Bhagavate Rudrai. There was no mention of Krishna, okay, as a Bhagwan. So something that is the truth, it has to be there from the beginning. And Gita is only it holds the essence of all the Vedas and Upanishads. So if the Ved says Om Namo Bhagavate Rudrai, how can it have the Krishna as a god? Right, it makes sense, right? So it is because it has the essence of all the Vedas as well, okay, in the Gita. Initially, if you can see, the Krishna was appearing as a qualitative word. Okay, Krishna means to black. Krishna means also to attract. Sorry, in here, if you can see this, okay, Krishna means black. Okay, Krishna means also to attract. It might be a little hard for you to see here, but see in here the translation was by Charles Wilkins, appeared as early as 1785 under the title of The Song of the Adorable One. It did not say Krishna in it. Okay, this adorable one. Here also the literature. Okay, it says the epic recast. Okay, with the Mahabharata story. It's talking about with Pandu heroes and Krishna as a demigod. This is the form which it had 24,000 slokas and is the stage of the poem referred to and by Panini. Okay, the epic recast with Krishna as all God. Okay, a great deal, okay, of didactic matter added. Okay, so you can see how much interpolations happen. Okay, so that is the point here. Okay, there are so many more references here. Okay, and a lot of addition happened in Mahabharata as well. Okay, Ramayana, if we can go by the number of slokas, so you can see how many interpolations happened over the period of time in all the scriptures. Okay, so that is the point here that we are making. Okay, that okay, so Lord, okay, so here it is people, what happened was over the period of time, so many misinterpretation by different human beings in the Rajo and Tamo stages. Okay, what they did is by picking some ignorant and unlawful meanings, okay, from the slokas of the Gita itself. Okay, and then that's how the commentary of omnipresence of the Supreme Soul has been made up. Okay, and then from this, the biggest mistake happening understanding, okay, the entire chapter of Vibhuti Yoga. Okay, just like in Vibhuti, we already have understood in the previous session about the meaning of Vibhuti. Okay, the Vibhuti, it doesn't mean omnipresent. The Vibhuti means V means special, Bhuti means birth, meaning one who is born in a special way. Okay, when the birth itself is special, it is clear that it is just about the Supreme Father, Supreme Soul, who enters the body of someone else, okay, and has a divine, alokik, unworldly and subtle birth. Okay, everyone else is born through ordinary physical procedure. Okay, so what is special in it? Okay, so only God. So how are they vibhuti? So how can vibhuti be omnipresent? Okay, so it's very, very important. Okay, in the vibhuti yoga. So there are some examples here. For example, it says in here, I am Ganges among the rivers, lion among the animals, Vishnu among the Adityas. Okay, so after reading this, it seems that Supreme Father, Supreme Soul is indicating his presence in the form of categories of different species. But this understanding is mere mistake. Okay, so we have to understand that species of different categories themselves are called form of God himself, but not everyone is the Supreme Father, Supreme Soul. Okay, for example, okay, the Supreme Soul is said to be Ganges among the rivers. So it is clear that the other rivers have not been considered as the Supreme Soul. Okay, he's called Vishnu among the Adityas. So it means the other deities are not the forms of the Supreme Soul. Okay, if Ram is the Supreme Soul among the ones who hold weapons, no other person who holds weapons is the Supreme Soul. Okay, similarly, whoever is the best himself is considered as the form of the Supreme Soul. Okay, so here the topic of omnipresence of the Supreme Soul is excluded, sorry. Okay, so still the Supreme Soul is being proved to be omnipresent, which is certainly wrong. Okay, so for this it has mentioned in the Gita, whoever is prosperous, powerful, the best and the intelligent, consider him to have been created from the part of my, meaning the Supreme Father, Supreme Soul's brilliance. That okay, so vibhuti is basically a speciality. It is describing how the person in whom the God has come, okay, how he is special in different ways, okay, expressing different characteristics. Okay, and that characteristics are praised, okay, in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so God says it's only one. He's not proving God is omnipresent through Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Okay, again, you're welcome to read this. Okay, but also in here it says human being will just create poison in the form of omnipresent. That is why in the chapter 9, before the chapter 10 named, okay, Vibhuti Yoga, the topic of omnipresence of Supreme Soul is rejected in advance. Okay, it is mentioned about all the creatures are situated in the Supreme Soul, but the Supreme Soul is not present in those creatures in chapter 9, slok 4. Okay, and among all the knowledge and secrecy of knowledge, this very knowledge is called the king. That's why also the name of the chapter 9 is Raj Vidya Raj Guhyam. Okay, Raj Guhya Yoga. Okay, the yoga of the knowledge of kings and the secret of kingship. Okay, so look at this knowledge which rejects the topic of omnipresence of the Supreme Father, okay, is said to be, according to the religion, easy and imperishable. Okay, that God himself gives. Pratyakshavagavam. Okay, by saying Pratyakshavagavam, divine knowledge is known through visible, meaning God in practice. If God himself in practice gives the knowledge, how can he be omnipresent? Okay, so that's it doesn't prove from any angle at all. Okay, so one who does not have faith in this and considers the Supreme Father to be omnipresent can never find the Supreme Soul in a visible form. Okay, rather they decline all the more. It has been said so clearly. Okay, that's why the only reason for degradation, okay, the only reason for the degradation of the entire world is to consider, okay, the Supreme Soul to be omnipresent. That has come fundamentally clear. Okay, this is the greatest adharma.